Welcome to this episode of the Outside of Sunday podcast. This week we're going to be talking about Christian kids and media consumption. Alright, so just before we get into the podcast today, I thought I'd do a little bit of an update as to what's been going on in my life from the last, since the last episode. So first of all, we all got COVID. My husband got it first, then did I get it first? I can't remember, but we all got it. There's 6 people living in this household and we all got it, but it kind of spread out. So it felt like 6 weeks of COVID, or, either you had it or someone else had it. So that was intense. And then we listed our house for sale, and then our house got flooded. So we had a flood from our dishwasher in the kitchen, and it just flooded the kitchen, all nasty, and then flooded in the dining room. And so we've had to claim insurance. We've taken our house off the market temporarily while we get that all fixed. So there's been a lot going on in the house. That's why there hasn't been an episode yet, and why it's taken me a little while to get back online. And then we had school holidays, of course, which who can do anything as an adult in school holidays? It's just full on. So anyway, we're back with a new episode for you today. So I hope you enjoy it. Also got a new sound system happening. My trusty old Tascam recording device just broke when I was just about to start recording today. So my husband came home at lunch and amazingly set up a new little sound system thing, a new camera. Like, I'd just been using my phone for the YouTube stuff. And I don't care, I'm just like, oh, whatever works. So I'd been just using my phone and using a mic and the Tascam for the recording for the audio. But no, he's set me up with his fancy camera and fancy audio recording stuff. At least I hope it's going to be good quality enough for the podcast, for those who are listening without video. Just a sec, I'm going to have a drink of water. Because remember, there's no cuts. This is all just me. So anyway, so that's what I've been up to. I'm excited to get back into it. So let's get started. Now for a little while, I've been thinking about doing an episode, kind of like a movie review of the film, the kids film Encanto. And to also have like a chat about our kids and media consumption, what we let our kids watch and things like that. And then last week I had the most amazing breakfast. It was amazing because it was at a cafe, it was kid free, and it was with some wonderful friends. So seriously, quality friends. Thank you. And while we were enjoying our breakfast, we started talking about Encanto and talking about our kids and media consumption. And so it kind of felt like this was the right timing for the episode. It was kind of cool. It had already been going on in the back of my mind, so it was just like confirmation that, time to do it. That's what we're going to be looking at in today's episode. So we're going to focus today on kids and the media consumption, the things that we let our kids watch. And then in the next episode, we're going to look at movies like Encanto, where there is an element of witchcraft in them. So movies like The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, The Princess and the Frog, Encanto, we're going to look at those 3 and discuss witchcraft in kids' movies. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out for that one. That will be coming out in the next episode. Okay, now before I start, just a little prerequisite for you all. This is not a Bible study this week, okay? Normally we do Bible studies, but that's not what this is. This is not a parenting course either, because I'm not some kind of qualified parenting coach person. This is just going to be a one-sided conversation intended to help us to think a little bit deeper about what media we allow our children, as us being Christian parents, what media we allow our children in our Christian homes to watch, to consume. It's not intended either. This is not intended to be a judgment on your choice of parenting. Let's just talk about it. I think it's good to talk about these things. You might hear something today that is different from how you do things. You can take it or you can leave it. It's just totally up to you. Okay, that's done. Now, to start with, I know that not every Christian parent even lets their kids watch movies, TV, or perhaps not any screens or devices at all. But then on the other side, so that's kind of like one end of the spectrum. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there are Christian parents who are happy to let their kids watch pretty much everything and anything. I fall somewhere in the middle. Like I said, I'm not here to judge either way. It's your family, it's your rules. But I do hope that no matter whatever side of the issue you fall on this, that you will get something out of this episode. That's my hope anyway. Okay, so I let my kids watch TV show and movies. I don't let them watch everything out there. We watch mostly G-rated content, and sometimes the big kids will watch a PG movie, but it really just depends on what movie it is. But for me, as a Christian parent, is it okay for me to do that? Or am I being too strict and I should let my kids watch more things? I know that there are probably pastors out there who would teach that Christian parents should not let any secular media into their home. Maybe only 100% Christian content is okay. Some might even say that it's actually good to let your kids to be exposed to the culture of the world. I'm not a pastor, so I'm not going to draw a line in the sand anywhere here today. But what I will say is this. It's not Christian to let your kids not watch any media at all. But it's also not Christian to let your kids watch whatever they want. Christian is being a follower of Jesus and a receiver of his gospel. That's what it is. This is not about being Christian. But as Christians, we should use wisdom and we should ask the Lord for guidance on this issue. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'm somewhere in the middle on this subject. What does that mean? Well, being in the middle ground for me means that my kids do watch Christian content, but they also, like I said, I do allow them to watch secular TV shows and movies, just not everything and anything. And there are a few reasons, there are a few reasons why I'm in this middle ground zone. So let me just lay them out for you. So I want my kids to be in the world, but not of the world. I want them to be part of the culture, but not shaped by the culture. I want to help them understand non-Christian worldviews. I also want to use the secular TV shows and movies that they watch to be a tool to help them, to help reinforce our family's biblical worldview. And I also want to protect the innocence of their minds for as long as possible. Once that's gone, it's gone. I mean, and that all might seem like a bit of a tall order for what I want for my kids, but that's what I'm shooting for, so hopefully I can get there. So yeah, I want them to be able to relate to their peers, to understand where their non-Christian friends will be coming from. I want them to see the gospel in Encanto, which we'll be doing more on that in the next episode. And I also want to shield them from things that would take away some of their innocence. And I am so aware that my time with my children is precious and fleeting. My oldest is going to be 8 this year. Like, only a couple of months away now, he's going to be 8. I can already picture him as a teenager, finishing high school, getting a job, and moving out of home. That's a good thing. We should want that for our children, but it also makes me really sad. So I try not to think about it, but I do think about it a lot. But while he's still here, and while all my children are still here at home with me, I have this one chance to protect them, to do that. But mainly what I want to do is prepare them You know, it says in Proverbs 22 verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's what I want to do. I want to train my kids in the way that they should go. And while it says, oh wait, no. Let me go back. Okay. Something that I've always noticed with this proverb is that it says, train up a child in the way he should go. It doesn't say pray for your child in the way he should go, or role model for your child the way he should go, or even suggest to your child the way he should go. It says to train them, get them ready, prepare them. As soon as our kids leave home, there will be an anti-Christian onslaught ready to greet them. TikTok, YouTube, Netflix, Metaverse, whatever new thing is happening out there, whatever they want. No restrictions on what they see, hear, or what they can do with the content that's out there. So I don't want my kids to be so unfamiliar with the culture of the world that it becomes like this enticing, forbidden fruit. I don't want them to leave home super naive, happy to be free from their parents' short leash, and then easily influenced by the first challenge to their Christianity. And at the same time, I don't want them to be already so immersed in the culture that once whatever semblance of restrictions at home are gone, they move deeper and deeper into content that might not harm them physically, but it will definitely harm them mentally and spiritually. I don't want them to go down a wormhole or a rabbit hole in the wrong thing. So that's my middle ground goal. I'm a middle ground goal gal. My hope is that by doing this prep work with my kids now, training them now, that when they do leave home, they will be aware and prepared for a life without restrictions, and then choose to live their adult lives with their own self-imposed restrictions. Because at that point, it'll be up to them, won't it? So I have self-imposed restrictions on what I watch. I'm not sure if everybody does, but I definitely do. I have self-imposed restrictions. Let me share some of them with you. So I don't watch anything that is R16 or over unless it's a war movie or some kind of movie that I can overlook certain things because it's a good message or whatever. For example, Hacksaw Ridge, great movie, super, super gory. It was R16 and I watched it and I looked away. I queased a bit in that movie, but it was a great movie. And so that's kind of my rule. I don't usually watch anything that's R16 or over unless it's a war movie or for a good reason. I don't watch horror movies. I have watched like 3 in my life and I regret it because I hate having stuff like that in my mind. So I don't watch horror movies. I check the parents guide on movies or TV shows that I want to watch but that I haven't seen before and I'm not sure about. So I check the parents guide on imdb.com, which is the Internet Movie Database. So I go through there and I look and I see if I want to actually watch what is going to be on there before I watch it. So yeah, that's something that I do. If I'm watching a movie and like a sex scene or something really gory comes on, I look away if it's just for a second, but if it is a long one, I will fast forward and just skip ahead. When I see an inappropriate ad on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere like that, I'll click the button to hide it, or I'll find that inappropriate content tab and click on that so that hopefully the algorithm will adapt and hopefully I won't see it again. But isn't it terrible that you can just be scrolling through Facebook and something just completely inappropriate comes up? That happens to me, but it's happening to me less because I always click go away and they do go away. Sometimes it takes a while though. But yeah, that's just what I do. And I do it, I suppose, because I want to honor the Lord in all areas of my life, including what I watch. Philippians 4 verse 8, great verse, says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, and whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. I can't think about those things if I've just filled my mind with yucky stuff. Because if I'm watching it, it's going into my mind and it doesn't come out. I know, like I said, if I fill my mind with unholy things, it will become so much harder to think about the right things and then to do the right things. Thoughts become actions. So these self-imposed restrictions come naturally to me now, but they are definitely sustained by self-control from the Holy Spirit and my desire to honor the Lord with what I watch. But it all started with my parents. Growing up, my parents were really aware, very aware of what my siblings and I watched. Back then, the only screen that had shows or movies or anything like that on it was the TV. It was in the lounge room, and we basically watched everything as a family. When there was a scary part, we would get told, oh, quick, cover your eyes, or Mum would fast forward the videotape. Yes, the videotape. That's how old I am. As we got older, though, we were allowed to watch TV after dinner with our parents. I think it was in high school. I think I was in high school before we actually got a second television. But again, it was in the family room, so everyone could see what was going on. But until that day came, we just had to watch whatever Dad wanted to watch. And my dad loved sci-fi, so we would be watching Star Trek, Stargate, shows like that. And when I was allowed to stay up and watch shows like that, like I said, I'm around like 10 years old or older, definitely like a big kid now. Things on these shows would scare me and I would have to look away. That's because I am naturally a massive wuss. My brother and sister might not look away, but I definitely would. And if I didn't, then I would be having nightmares. And I still remember the things that were on those shows that used to give me nightmares and getting hot sweats at night. And yeah, I'm a massive wuss and that's fine. So it was because of my natural wussiness, but it was also because that behavior was learned. It was my mum teaching me that if it's scary, look away. So while my kids are at home, and while they're aged 7, 5, and 2, I'm going to use this time to instill behaviors and restrictions that hopefully when they move out, they will adapt into their own self-imposed restrictions that will protect their mental and spiritual well-being as adults. So how do you do that? How do we do that? Well, I can only speak for what it looks like for my family. So that's what I'll share with you. And if it helps you, that's cool. So we have password protection on our apps for content that is over a G rating. And our kids are already aware about what the rating is because they know if they see a G, okay, that usually means go. So yeah, we have passwords. So I have to enter the password on Netflix if we're going to watch anything that's over a G rating. So if they see a movie or a show on Netflix that they like the look of, they might say, hey Mum, can we watch this? It says G or it says all. They know not to just start watching something on their own. They have to always ask Mum or Dad first. And if they don't, there will be a consequence. Even if it is a G-rated thing. Like I said, I have a password protection on anything over G, but even if it is G, I still have a look and I just see, and if I see something with like vampires and stuff, I'm like, yeah, even though that's G, I think we're not going to watch that. So yeah, that's how we do that. Can you hear that? That's Indy snoring in the background. Shh. Indy's my dog. Okay, yes, so they have to ask Mum or Dad first. They know to look away if it's scary because I tell them when it's scary. I'll say, if we're watching something and it's a family together, I'll say, oh, scary part's coming up. Okay, get ready to cover your eyes. And then they might cover their eyes. They will cover their eyes. They do. they're okay if I skip certain parts of a movie because it's inappropriate. For example, we like the movie Elf, and that's the one with Will Ferrell, but I'm pretty sure it's a G or a PG rated Christmas movie. Anyway, there's one scene, one part where someone says a word that we don't say in our house, and I know when that's coming up, so I just quickly mute that. Or sometimes if I don't have enough time, this is really giving away how lame I am. Sometimes if I don't have enough time to mute it, I'll just go really loud, like over top of this sound of the word, because there's just this one word in the whole movie that is not a good word that we would allow our kids to hear or say. Well, they're going to hear it at some point, but if I can stop it, I'll stop it, and yeah, just go over that. And I think there might be one scene where we just, let's just skip that part. Yeah, so things like that. If we're watching something on YouTube as a family and the ads come on, we will mute the ads because we usually have it on the TV. And if it looks like it's an inappropriate ad, then we just tell the kids to look away, because sometimes they put up pop-up ads for stuff that you like. This is not suitable, guys. So anyway, that's what we do for YouTube. And then so the kids don't use devices or the computer at home at all. But if on the odd chance they do need to use one for school or something, then we will set it up in a space where I'm able to see what they're doing. So I know, okay, yep, they're still on Maths Buddy, they're still on Reading Eggs. It's okay, because they could just push a certain button and then get on to something else that might not be safe. So yeah, we to follow on from that, we tell them that the internet, Google and YouTube are not safe places for kids, because they're not. If you type the wrong thing into YouTube, you could end up watching someone getting beheaded in real life. That's not safe for kids. We don't even let our kids wander through YouTube Kids, because just because someone ticked that it's appropriate for kids to watch doesn't mean it's appropriate for kids to watch. So if we're ever doing something on YouTube, it's always with mum and dad, and I never would ever let them just scroll through YouTube. Yeah, okay. And then the last one is me and my husband, we watch movies with them, because the night where we usually watch a movie that they've never seen before is on is on movie night, and we're watching it with the kids. So if a situation comes on, I can say things like, oh, that was silly of the character, or that was a bad choice, wasn't it, kids? And they'll say, oh yeah. So we're watching movies and there's things going on that is not good behavior for kids, like lying to their parents or whatever. If there's an episode where someone runs away or something like that, we'd say, why did he do that? That was silly. And then we just kind of carry on. Yeah, just to help them understand that just because a character is doing something on TV and it's funny or it's entertaining, it doesn't mean that it's the right choice for us. Yeah, so that's kind of our way of just like living our lives in with some secular shows and movies and stuff. But if I let my kids watch whatever they wanted, if I had let them have complete control of the remote, of devices and computers at home, then none of these things would be happening at home. My 7-year-old wouldn't be asking me, is it okay to watch this? Because they'd just do it. So for now, they do have some control. Like my 7-year-old does use the remote at home and will look around Netflix and say, can I watch this? Can I watch that? He can choose music and things and that, but he's not allowed to turn anything on until mum or dad says it's okay. So that's just how we do it and how we operate at our house, and it's not a big deal. The kids hardly ever watch normal, like live Freeview TV. Most of the time it's something on Netflix or Disney Plus. And yeah, like I said, we have a Friday night movie night where we watch something together as a family. The kids will watch a show some days after school, but some days they won't watch anything. And the TV will only be allowed on if it's to play some music. On the weekends in the morning, they're allowed to watch parent approved shows, and if they're lucky at some point, because then that's when I get to sleep in and my husband gets to sleep in, so they're allowed to watch certain shows on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning. And yeah, if they're lucky at some point on the weekend, they might get to watch an outdoor adventure YouTube show with their dad, who loves outdoor adventure YouTube shows. Me, not so much. But yeah, look, you probably do things differently in your house. That's okay. I'm not here to say that the way that we do things in our house is the best way. I'm not here to say that. But maybe there is something in here that might be a little bit of food for thought for you, something for you to munch on, and maybe adapt into your family. I do that. I recently caught up with a good friend of mine, and we started talking about this very subject. We were talking about kids and media consumption. It was at that breakfast, that amazing kid-free breakfast. And something that she shared with me was how she teaches her kids to listen to the Holy Spirit while they are watching a show. That doesn't mean that she teaches her kids that God will audibly speak to them while they're watching a show, or that, or anything like that. Not at all. She teaches her kids that the way the Holy Spirit can speak to us while we are watching TV is through our stomach. If you start getting a funny feeling in your tummy, and we all know that feeling, it's like that gross feeling in your conscience, that feeling of knowing that you're doing something or looking at something that you shouldn't be. It's that little check in your spirit, like, is this okay? She teaches her kids to listen to that feeling or that voice and respond to it, because that builds trust. They can go tell mum and dad, hey, I don't think I should be watching this, or can we skip this part? Can we turn it off? Or can you let me know when it's safe to look? And that, it builds trust. So I think that's awesome. And when she told me that, I said, I'm totally going to do that with my kids now, because that's not something we've done. We talked about, covering your eyes for scary parts and stuff. But I think that's so great. Like, I want to teach my kids to listen to that feeling and to listen to the Holy Spirit when you're just getting that little nudge that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be watching this. So yeah, I'm going to start doing that with my kids. So how do we know if a show or a movie is okay for our kids to watch? My suggestion is that either you watch it first on your own, you check the Parents Guide online, like on Common Sense Media or in the IMDb Parents Guide section, or watch it with your kids at the same time and be prepared to tell the kids to look away or skip a certain scene. I do all of these things, but my favorite one is to watch the show or the movie with the kids. That way I get to be there, I can answer their questions, and help them to interpret and understand what is going on. Research has actually shown that kids under 12 can't actually comprehend what is happening, what they are seeing on a screen. They can't understand it correctly. Did you know that? I don't know if you did, but that's something that my mum would always tell me when I started having kids. She said, oh, just make sure, remember this is what's been proven with the research, blah, blah, blah. So thanks, Mum, for that. So yeah, you could be watching a movie with your son or your daughter. You could be both seeing the same thing and have completely different comprehensions on what is happening. A perfect example of this is the movie E.T. If you ever watched E.T. as a kid, you would most likely sum up the movie this way. A kid finds a lost alien at his house. He becomes best friends with him. Then some bad guys are chasing them and the bad guys kill E.T. But then the kid saves E.T. and E.T. comes back to life. They go flying on a bike and it's so cool. And then E.T.'s alien friends take him home. But if you watch E.T. again as an adult, you see things very differently. The so-called bad guys in E.T. aren't bad guys at all. The leader of the bad guys had wanted to meet an E.T., extraterrestrial, since he was a boy, and he spent his life tracking the sky, doing research, trying to find an extraterrestrial. And so he was happy and excited at the prospect of meeting one. He wasn't trying to arrest the alien. I I don't know. Anyway, so he wanted to meet an alien. So anyway, the bad guys, they didn't actually kill E.T. E.T. was already dying because he had wandered off looking for his people and he was sick. So the bad guys, when they found E.T. and there was all this medical stuff happening, they were actually trying to save him. Totally different comprehension. I remember watching E.T. as a little kid and thinking that. And then watching it as an adult and be like, actually no. So anyway, that's just an example. I'm not rushing off to let my kids watch E.T. anytime soon, but I just hope you get the point. Sometimes our kids need our help to make sense of what is going on. Kids don't go off of dialogue and context when they're watching something. They go off music and facial expressions and the reactions from the characters in the movie. That's why when Elliot is afraid of some adults in the movie and that intense music is playing, as a kid, you now prioritize them as the bad guys. And when you see them doing medical things to E.T. and Elliot says, "You're killing him, you're killing him," you believe him. You don't see that the bad guys are actually doing CPR and trying to figure out how to save him. And at the end, when the lead bad guy talks to Elliot about how E.T. came to him too and how he'd been wishing for this day since he was like 10 years old and and he doesn't want E.T. to die, he wants to save him, that goes over your head. You don't pick that up and you're left with the wrong conclusion. Our kids need a little help when it comes to understanding what's going on that screen. So while this is something that we do need to help kids with in understanding what's happening, it can also be a good thing too. We all know that kids shows and movies nowadays seem to be more and more slipping certain social agendas or sexuality type things, or even straight up transgender messaging into a Muppets Baby episode. Yes, that did happen, and no, I don't let my kids watch Muppet Babies. It's all starting to slip in there more and more. So if your kids watch, so that's why it's so important to check what your kids are watching, but also if your kid watches something that you've approved and let them watch, and then somehow some kind of surprise is snuck in there. For example, like the Dragon Riders movie I let my kids watch, and there was a lesbian dragon couple in it. Certain things like that will go over their heads. But if you are in the room, you can just do your part to kind of just help it go over their heads. So, like I said in that Dragon Riders movie where the girl dragon, she found her long lost mate, which actually turned out to be another girl dragon. I just said to the kids, "Oh yay, she found her sister." My kids won't be watching that movie again, but they have no idea what the deeper messaging was, because I was able to help it fly right over their little heads. As far as they know, those dragons were sisters, and yay, they were so happy because they were lost. Not the other way around, that was actually her mate, which is how it's described in the movie. So look, when I was a kid and my parents had the advantage of controlling the media consumption in our home by default. We had that one TV in the lounge, one remote. But now in 2022 and beyond, because of advancing technologies and social agendas being placed into children's entertainment, we have to be more savvy for our kids. Back then it was Sesame Street and Susie Cato. Kids shows were about learning, about ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, animals and friends. Now, just because something is rated G, it doesn't mean that there won't be some kind of social agenda sprinkled in there. So that's my take. Those are my thoughts on media consumption for our kids. No matter where you stand, I keep biting my cheek. No matter where you stand on this subject, I hope that this episode has been helpful in some way. What's something that has stood out for you in this episode? Please comment and let me know. I'd love to hear from it. What advice do you have for me, for my kids? I'd love to hear any tips or tricks that you've found that work really good when it comes to secular TV shows and movies that you let your kids watch. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful. Look, next week we're going to be talking about witchcraft in kids content. I was going to put it in here, but I felt like I'd just be glossing over, and I feel like we need to look a little bit deeper into it. So next time, we're going to be talking about witchcraft in kids' content. Is it okay to let our kids watch content with witchcraft in it? And to answer that, we're going to be using 3 different movies as like a case study. So that'll be Encanto, Princess and the Frog, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So I hope that you'll check out that episode when it comes out next time. But again, thank you so much for listening. Bless you guys. I hope it's been helpful. I'll catch you next time.